right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our monthly webinar. Today, we're going to walk through the Leave module from start to finish on the admin side. So by the end of the session, you can have a good, solid understanding of how the module is put together, what pieces it does, and where the settings live, and how different sections, everything kind of interconnects to each other. So I'll start with by sharing my screen real quick. All right. Perfect. All right. You should see my screen. If not, somebody please raise a hand or yell at me. But you should see my screen now. Right now, what I'm in the lead module. I'm on the admin side. So we'll walk through the admin side of the module today. We'll go over the dashboard first, then settings, then the organization, lead packages, reports, and then we'll close out with sub management. If you have any questions as we go, please just drop them in the chat. So that way, by the end of the webinar, we'll go over the Q&As together, and you guys have any questions. All right, perfect. So when you click into the Leave module, the very first thing you're going to see on the dashboard, and this is a design where it's supposed to be a district-wide overview of what's happening today, like who's out, who's covered, who's not covered. So I'll go in real quick and show you guys how this dashboard works. So this dashboard for today, so today's 5/11. You can also click the calendar if you wanted to see different days, like who is out, next Monday, last Friday. But we'll look at today's date. We have 4 pending leaves for today's date. 1 have been unfulfilled, 2 have been filled, and 1 is sub not required. Of those 4 leaves, they are going to show right here as well at the different schools, as far as the locations you have in your settings. This is a drill down you can click and see which specific employees, the request reason. You can also click the link here to go inside the actual leave form, the requested time, substitute, and subtime. It's also going to show you the substitutes with them as well. So right now we have 1 substitute, the second substitute here, and then 2 missing right here as well. One of them has been assigned to sub not required. That's why one of them shows here. And then also we have one of them that has been unfulfilled. Once a sub picks it up as far as either approves or goes in there and accepts a job, or when filling out a leave form, if a prearranged sub has already been in there, that will be moved from an unfulfilled to fulfilled, and then a percentage is based off that as well. Now I know some districts won't see this leave dashboard, or they won't see this manage absence for subs. The reason for that is not everybody uses subs in YAS, and also has this setting turned off. If this sub management toggle right here is turned off and has been disabled, then these 2 fields as far as leave dashboard and manage absence for subs will not be here. But the pending substitute, upcoming leave, and pending leave will always, in historical leave, not pending sub, pending sub and absence for subs and the dashboard, all 3 of these will not be if these settings are turned off. Regardless, you will see upcoming leave, pending leave, and historical leave, and I'll go over those kind of what they mean as well. Um, let's see. There we are. Perfect. All right. For upcoming leave, everything that's future dated across the whole district. So anything as far as it's coming up, say, hey, Johnny's going to be out, 2 months from now. He's got something going on. He submitted a leave request. This will show here. The pending leave is anything as far as saying, hey, this leave is still in the pending approval chain. It still needs to be approved. And then historical leave is any leave that has gone in that has been submitted already and that the date has already passed. Very, very, forward, very simple. Also, any of these leaves that show up on here as well, there will be an action tab that you can view. So if you wanted to go into view to get more specifics, you can go in and view the actual leave form itself. Awesome. And that's really the leave dashboard itself. Very straightforward, nothing complicated about it. And we'll go into the settings. All right. All right. So I'm going to walk through it kind of a little bit piece by piece to kind of how to build a leave form, the leave types that are associated with it to kind of show you the breakdown of everything. So right here on the right, document name is going to be the actual main forms. So if you click add leave, These forms right here are the main forms that you will put a leave type to it. You could go, we have a preview action that you preview. You can preview all the different kind of leave types right here, or the leave forms, excuse me. Say it's like, okay, I looked at professional V1. I like that one. I want to use this one. I would create a label. This label name will be the one, what would be the name when you assign in an organization, which I'll show you guys in a second how that works. When you go to organization and you click down the drop down, you'll select a leave form that you want to choose, and it'll have these leave types that are associated with it. Um, for an example, if we wanted to, create a test label, and I wanted sick leave, personal leave. Why is it not working? There we go. Say sick leave, personal leave, leave without pay, vacation. I wanted all these on here, just a few. Use leave type, and it will show here. So, for an example, like sick leave, we can go in here if we wanted to edit it. These are all the ones that have been selected with it. So you also change the label name if you need to. Once you find a document you have liked, you've created a label for it, you assign the leave types to it. That'll take us to organization. Let's see. One more thing I'll mention before I move on is you'll see anywhere it says activate. That means the current form is currently off. Clicking it will turn it on. Anywhere you see deactivate, that form is currently live, and clicking it will turn it off. So almost think of it as an inverse. The button tells you what exactly your take, not the current state. When you open up one of these forms, let's see. When you open up one of these forms, you'll see the leave types. We went over that, and then it'll take us to, their approval. You got some flexibility here on how your structure works. Some districts use one form with the drop down of all the principals, and the other employees picks the right one. The easier to maintain if a principal moves, you're just updating one form. Other districts, you want one per school, which is more granular, but more upkeep. And we'll go down to here real quick and go some of these permissions and toggles. You have the setting of can an HR user edit absences, and then also at campus users edit absences. Very straightforward. Yes, they can, or no, they can't. Third one is can an employee enter historical absences for themselves? If this is yes, an employee can go in, enter an absence that is the historical data is already passed. Then we got some more personal leave settings. So this is only going to reflect the personal leave form. It adds fields like the event name, location, estimated cost. These expected expenses the employee will occur. So if you're sending somebody to a conference, they pull all the details in that form when they request the leave. You can also, an email can be sent out when the professional leave form is submitted to remind the employee to submit a reimbursement form if you change this to yes. So you can change the different rates on here, and then this is the email setting if you want them to receive an email to resubmit a reimbursement form. We're going on to submit packages. Then we have submit packages. This controls two really important things. The first question, do you want to allow employees to submit a leave request without a package assigned? My recommendation is to really have this once you go live with Yells, is to really turn this off. That way, nobody can submit a package without being assigned to it. That keeps your balances clean. Once you have obviously policies assigned, this one's it's more default. The second question is about terminated employees. When somebody gets terminated, do you want Yas to keep their leave packages or remove it? If you keep it, the balance stays visible, which can be helpful if a teacher transfers to another district and that district calls and asks how many sick days they had in hand. If you remove it, the balance zeroes out on the termination date automatically. Most districts want to keep it, but it's just totally a judgment call based off your HR team needs. And that'll take care of this first setting. We're going to see manage absence reason. I'll just briefly touch on this. The only really matters if you're using ESS for your teacher subs, or if you're using what we call supplemental form, which is really a vacancy or a floater form. If neither of those apply to you, you can pretty much ignore this section, but this is mostly for ESS and the absence reason ID. And then is this a supplemental reason, either true or false? And you can go in here, you can create a reason description and is it supplemental. So we'll go down to manage leave type would be the next setting. Now this one is really important. This is a converter that tells YAS when somebody takes a sick day on the ERP report, that should show up as a, like, for example, A101, or whatever your codes are. So for every leave type that is going to appear on a form or be part of a leave package, it has to be set up here first. If it is not here, it does not exist anywhere else. So you have to set it up here. And how you do that is you go down here, put a title for it, you put your codes, your type codes and your region codes, and also a custom message. That's one of the features that we really like is the custom message. When you set up a leave type, you can add a pop-up message that displays when an employee chooses that specific leave type. So for personal days, you can have a message say, "Hey, personal days deduct from your sick balance." For PPL, all GPPL paperwork must be completed before submitting this request. For an example, leave without pay, you can put this is an unpaid day. You will not be compensated. It's just a great way to set up expectations up front and it just follow up, and it cuts down on follow-up questions. So I'll hop out of leave real quick and I'll go into settings. So go back to the main dashboard, settings. We're going to manage calendars. Inside settings, you'll find manage calendar. This is where you can load your district's holidays, breaks, MLK Day, Labor Day, weather days, all that. You can have a default calendar that applies to everybody where you can drill down per package. So for example, you have 10-month employees can see one calendar, 12-month employees can see another. Pretty much you'll select a lead package and then the calendar name. So that was pretty much all on calendars. We'll hop back in the leave real quick. In the settings. And then we'll jump down. Go to GL codes real quick. All right, perfect. GL codes lets you load default codes for your employees, mostly used for personal leave reporting. There is a new update for GL codes that's going to allow you to add more than one GL code to an employee. You can do that here by either importing or export to import. You can go in here and do one by one. Once you create a GL code, you can go into that specific employee, and then there's a section in the profile fields that allow you to assign the created GL codes that you create here. Let's see, we're going to bank visibility. This controls whether employees can see their bank chart, and that is per lead. That is per lead package. So you might show that it's your 12-month employee, but you want to hide it from your 10-month employees. You just do that here. So whatever this is visible, the employers will be able to see if they're assigned to this package. If not, they will not be able to see it. Perfect. In the location settings, controls whether an employee can change the location. On a leave request, by default, they can't. They're assigning to one place, but if you have a split job employee, like a professional who's at a high school in the morning and in the middle school in the afternoon, you can turn this on and let them pick. Down to custom time real quick. Perfect. Custom time is the option of whether you want to let employees enter a specific start and end time on their leave request. Like I'm taking a 7:30 a.m. to a 1 p.m. You can set these increments to 5, 15 to an hour. So you can choose which option you want to. You can also select any time as well. Then the rounding rules controls the custom time pulls into your ERP report. So if someone takes it's an 8 a.m. to an 8:05 a.m. And your settings is the nearest quarter hour. That's going to round up to the quarter hour of a day. nearest half hour, we'll round up to the half hour of a day, and the nearest hour, we'll round to the full hour deduction. Or you can choose no rounding, which pulls the exact time, whether it's 5 minutes, 17 minutes, or whatever it may be. Which one you pick really depends on how your payroll system likes to see that data. And then the leave charts. The two last settings will be leave chart settings. This is where you can link sick and personal to, together visually. So when somebody takes a personal day, it's visibly deducts from both personal chart and the sick chart on their dashboard. That is helpful if when your district policy is that personal days are also part of sick days. And the custom hour schedule. Custom Azure schedule is one we don't really use often. Maybe a couple of districts may use it. It's just for districts that have non-8-hour work days, usually during the summer. So if your summer schedule was 10-hour days, you can tell us that one day on the schedule should deduct 1.25 from the balance instead of just one. If your district doesn't do that, then you can leave this section totally alone. All right. Awesome. So we're going to organization now. Organization is just like any other organization and any other module. It sits between the sections, settings, and leave package. It's based on the context from our settings that we set up in settings. It's where this is all going to tie together. So you've gone in, you chose a form, you've labeled it. The labels that you've labeled will show up here. And then based off this, we'll also have the leave types that will drill down even further. Like for example, if we choose sick, these are the employees that can submit a sick form based off what we have here in our demo company. It's very straightforward, just like the other ones. You choose either an employee, bookkeeper, principal, superintendent. You go through and you select them. You can also update and remove roles, just like the rest of the modules. All right. All right. So now we're moving to leave packages. So you've gone into settings, you've created a form, you labeled the form, you assigned all the leave policies you want to it, you've gone into organization, you assigned the employees that you want to have through the approval route. Now we're going to leave packages. It ties everything together. Okay, leave packages is where YAS will hold your employees' leave balances and enforces the rules around accrual and carryover. If your district doesn't want YAS holding balances at all, you can skip this section entirely. But if you do want balances, it's in this section. This will make everything tie together and work. Before we open a leave package, I want to remind you one thing. Every leave type you want to use in a package has to exist first under settings, under the leave types. That's what I mentioned just a few minutes ago. So if you don't see something here, you will have to put it in before we can see it here. All right, so let's go into one real quick. So we're going to, let's just say we're going to sick leave. Perfect. And let's say sick leave. We're going to an actual policy. All right. So I'm going to use a lot of the same words here. You want to hear me say package and policy. A package is the umbrella that an employee falls under, whether that's 10-month, 11-month, 12-month employee, transportation, school nutrition, whatever you group your employees by. And then a policy is a specific leave type within its own rule, and policies live inside the package. So when I open up sick leave, I'm going to see a list of policies. So let me go back to it quick. So going up sick leave. Here is the list of policies that have already been associated with it. I'm going to just go into one. It's the same whether I edit or add policy. It's going to bring you to the same form. Add is obviously you're adding a new policy to sick leave. Let's go into sick leave. All right. So within this sick leave package, I want to add a sick leave policy. So here I can do a sick leave name. I can do the actual leave type. A lot of times the leave type policy name will match. Totally up to you if you don't want them to match or you do want them to match. Just kind of makes, helps you understand what is going on if they do match. Perfect. So when you're setting up a policy, and Yoss is going to walk you through just a series of questions and answers to determine how the platform thinks about that sleeve type. And these are the questions right here. Um, does this leave type have balances? Sick leave does. Jury duty usually doesn't. If you say yes, Yas turns on the balance tracking rules. That is how it knows not to let an employee to go negative. If you say no, it will still track days taken, but there are no parameters preventing them from submitting. If it has a balance, the next question is, do you want Yas to auto accrual these days? Sick leave is yes. Paid parental leave is typically no. If yes, you tell it whether you accrue annually, let's just say July 1st, or monthly, and how many days. So a 10-month employee, for an example, might get 12 and a half sick days every July 1st. So every time July 1st rolls around, they're going to get 12 and a half sick days. The next question is, there's a carryover question. They are allowed days to carry over from next year. If no, Yash flushes the balance on accrual day. If yes, you can set a maximum carrier, say 50 days. And then there's a question about whether they lose days over the max, or whether those extra days flow into what's called a bank, which we'll talk about a little later on. There's also a really important question about dependent policies. This is common with sick and personal. The policy will ask, before choosing this policy, must the employee have a balance in another policy? So for example, you should say yes, they need a sick balance, and personal subtracts from sick. This means when somebody takes one personal day, YASA deducts one day from both personal and sick. So if they started with 12 and a half sick and 3 personal, taking one day drops them to 11.5 sick and 2 personal. That is down here. Where leave is taken here, subtract balance from another policy. You can choose the other policies that's be created. If no policy has been, so say this is your very first policy you're making under this package, you won't see anything here first. You have to create a policy, and then on your second one, you can reference the other policies if they want to, deduct together. Special cases, a few common ones to know. Paid parental leave. You typically say no to auto accrual because you manually load those days in when the paperwork gets approved. And when you do load them in, you can set an expiration date, say 1 year from approval, and you also automatically zero those balances out on that date. Leave without pay, usually there's no balance, and you're set to require 6 exhausted first. Jury duty, or typically no balances. You're just tracking the days taken, so you have a record of them. Perfect. All right. So you created your package. Your package has got policies in them. Now we wanted to assign them to employees. Once your package is set up, you need to assign them to employees. There are 2 main ways. The first is an import. So we're going to package editor. There's package import. There are 2 main ways. The first is an import. Bulk upload via the template. It's super fast for getting everyone assigned all at once. The second is in package editor. It's a one-off tool. You can search a person. So we're going to, here, package import. You can do it in bulk. Very easy. You're trying to get a mass, people into a policy. If you're trying to do a, specific employee or just a few employees, you can go in here. You can search the name. And I'll go to that real quick and show you details. Boom. One nice thing about moving, if Jane Doe transfers from a 10-month role to a 12-month role mid-year, you can move her here, and Yas will map her to an existing day policy with new package policies, so you're not have to re-enter anything. And remove is what you would do when somebody's no longer eligible for leave. Say a retiree comes back as a substitute, they're still in Yas, but you don't have to accrue leave anymore. We're moving the package. That's a tip. When you're using recruiting and hiring, and when you award the position step, you can assign leave packages automatically. Worth coordinating, whoever owns RNH, you can saves you from importing or manually assigning later. Excuse me. But pretty much, so this is the policy Samantha's assigned to. If we wanted to put it to a different policy, we select 12-month employee. This will show all the policies under the 12-month package. and we can just map them down. Say I want leave without pay, match up leave without pay, sick leave, match up sick leave, and so forth and so forth. All right, so next we're going to balance adjustment. Balance and adjustment is where you can actually load and tweak the day balances. Two ways to do it. You can search a person on screen and do a one-off, or use the bulk import. We use both depending on the situation. A couple things to know. Every adjustment requires a reason. You've got to pre-select one like the initial balance entry, transfer, audit, reconciliation, post-termination, things like that. Pick the right one because it does show up in your audit trail. So let's go into an employee. Click sick leave. Boom. Here it is. We have days, desired change to adjust the days. Reason for an adjustment. Does this policy expire? The most important thing about adjustment, if someone has 50 days and they should only have 38, you don't want to enter 38. You want to enter negative 12. So if right now they have, 220, I don't want to go in here and it's like they should only have 200. I don't want to go in here and put 200. That's going to add 200 to it. So you want to do a negative. I want to do minus 20. Hit save. Oh, I need a reason. Excuse me. Correct it over to boom. Nope. Sorry. Need to be that. So I'm doing it here. 1 second, guys. Let me fix this. Don't want showing negative days. Let me fix this. There we go. But there you go. You guys just saw an example of how it works. Boom, there we go. Now we're showing 200 days. All right. A few more formatting things. Partial days require a leading 0, so 0.25 works, but 0.25 will get rejected, so we'll have to have a leading 0 in front of it for partial. If you're doing the import, the leave type and package name on your spreadsheet have to match YAS exactly. Perfect. And then we're going to awesome. And we'll kind of explain how all these work across auto accrue days, carryover days, leave utilization, currently adjusted days, and then perfect total days. So YAS calculates the total remaining days with a pretty simple formula. Of those, what I just listed there, the auto accrue in YAS added on accrual day, carried over is the pre-over balance you loaded in. Leave utilization is calculated. Form submitted leave request, and current adjustment is your manual adjustments plus or minus all the logged in audit trails. Let's go to bank report. Go to bank. There we go. Last piece of this section is the bank. The bank is basically a place where days carried over above your maximum carryover get stored. Most commonly used for the TRS sick bank. Those sick days that have been accumulated above the carryover cap that you set, but you want to keep tracking for retirement purposes. You don't have to use the bank, but if you do, you need to have the balances enabled. You need to have set lose days over max to flow into the bank rather than disappear. You also choose whether employees can see their bank on chart and can set that per package. So a 12-month employee sees it, 10-month employee sees don't. They don't. They can't use they can't use the days either way. It's a read only, but you can let them know that it's there. All right. It's going to be all on packages. And then bank adjustment is pretty much you see a report. It's the same thing as balance adjustment. Go into bank adjustment. You can search employee. You can do it in bulk, and you can adjust the bank adjustment if there's an error on there. Go right along to reports. All right. So in reports, there's honestly about a dozen plus reports in the lead module, but I'm going to focus on the ones you're actually more likely used on a day-to-day during payroll. Most of these can be filtered by location, employee, or a job code. You can export them to Excel or a PDF as well. Let's just use, which one do I want to use? Let's pull it up. That's not important. Perfect. I can show you guys all the filters. Actually, I want to delete port. The lead port is your YAS template report. It's really focused on who was out, how long they were out, and if they needed a sub. Quick to read, quick to scan, almost like a pre-report for payroll. Another important one would be the substitute report. My eyes, where is it at? There it is, substitute report. Substitute report is the inverse. So instead of focus on who was out, it focuses on what days subs were covering classrooms, using if you're tracking sub utilization or reconciling sub pay. So the next report would be the absentee leave report. It combines the leave reports and the substitute report. So it's going to combine both of those reports together. So for any absences you're seeing the substitute who was out and the sub who was in the classroom for those days, if you only learned one report today, learn this one. It's the cleanest overview of what actually happens. So it's going to combine leave and substitute. It's going to allow you to see for any absences you're seeing from an employee who was out and the sub actually covering for them. Next one will be the professional leave report. Is a structural identical to the leave report, but filtered down to just professional leave requests. It's typically more useful at the district level, somebody pulling staff development, conference attendance, that kind of stuff like that. And then a summarize report. Is one principals tend to love. It doesn't tell you the date somebody was out. It doesn't tell you they were out April 2nd, April 8th. What it does tell you is for the month of April, this employee took 2 days, took 2 sick days, one personal day, and total 3 days off. It's a total view, not a specific dates, and it's really helpful for evaluations and high level awareness. And then the ERP report. This is one you'll pull every payroll. So this is a report that's formatted specifically for PC Genesis. So sick gets covered, converted to the A101 or whatever your codes are. Everything is prepped in that format. One thing about the ERP report is when you run the ERP report for payroll, always check the exclude outside range box. Without it, a single multi-day request that expands your payroll cutoff is going to pull both days, even if one of them falls in your pay period. The box tells y'all to look at that absence in the range instead of the full request. It's just something more like you always want to do it. You always want to check the box off. Excuse me. There are two balance reports, and the difference between them is one little thing. The lead balance report is what your campus users can run, and it excludes employee ID. The lead package balance report is an admin only, and it includes socials. And that is because it uses the same template as as your balance import. So if you ever need to do a bulk correction, you can pull this report, modify the numbers in the spreadsheet, and re-import. Super handy for the year end cleanup. You have the end of the year report. Is exactly what it sounds like, a full fiscal year of summary showing every request, excuse me, and how each one changed each employee's balance. Pull it at the end of June for your annual audit. The leave balance snapshot report is point in time. So if I want to know what Jane Doe's balance was as of today, ignoring any future data requests she already submitted, this is the report. One thing to know is it only includes employees who took leave during the date range. If Jane Doe didn't take any days this week, she won't be on the report for you to run. We'll go down to this automatic leave reports. The last thing in reports is you can schedule automatic reports. Pick a report, you pick the reception, campus or HR user, pick a frequency and a delivery time, and Yosh just sends it. The most common setup I see in the absentee leave report going out every Friday, so principals can review absences before payroll closes, or the summarized reports monthly to principals, so everybody a lot of, hey, can you pull this email for me? So that way you can send it. So select the report type. I want this going out 7 o'clock, and I want it every day, once a week, once every other week, or monthly. And then you select campus user, which HR user you want to receive this automatic report. I'll take care of reports. So we'll jump into sub management. I know there's not everybody uses sub management. Some of this is, turned on, some of this is turned off. If it is on, this would be specifically for you. If it is turned off, obviously does not apply to you. The very first thing is the master toggle. If this is off, the sub function disappears entirely. The sub fields are gone from forms. The dashboard widgets disappear. None of the notifications fire. If it's on, the rest of these settings actually do something. So step one, make sure that is on. Also add a location preference. You can only have certain locations can only have subs. Totally up to you, or have the all sub. All right. Um, let's see. All right, let's go to subject settings. Then we have a few behavior settings. The first one is, do you want subs to manage their own location preferences? If this is turned on, subs can log into YAS and toggle notifications on or off per location. Like I'm happy to sub at the elementary school and middle schools, but I don't want to do the high school. And those preferences seem back to you, and you can see them. Big thing to know, your HR side locations overrides the sub preferences. So the sub said, hey, I don't want to do high school, but you have them enabled for high school, we're only going to see the high school. So your HRs does override the substitutes preferences. Next setting, do you want subs to be able to pick up sub requests in YAS? If yes, they can log into the platform or the app and self-assign jobs out of the available pool. If no, assignments have to come from the bookkeeper or HR user. And then lastly, do you want subs to cancel their own accepted request? If on, the sub can drop a job that previously picked up, and if it goes back into the pool. If it is off, only a campus user or HR user can remove them from a job. I will mention this. I know it's been a heavily requested, but right now we see a concern of substitutes dropping or canceling requests and no notification gets sent out. That is something that we're aware of. We'll be working on and happy to say that should hopefully be coming soon. So when a sub does cancel, a notification of who you like to, if it needs to go to, so that way they can be aware of it and that can happen. Perfect. Righty. Boom, 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 boom. So here is going to be an active sub list. Obviously, ours is not as long as we're just using a demo company. Um, let's see. Perfect. Yep. So this is only going to show the active sub list. This is where you manage individual subs. Click into one, you can toggle the notifications, you can block them from a specific location or mark them inactive. So let's go into one. Let's go to demo employee. Why not? Perfect. So you can see all the locations that we have for this demo. Got all the substitutes information, position types. So you can block these, turn them off. That way they can only apply for jobs that you want them to have. Let's see. Perfect. There's also a bulk import option. If you wanted to bulk import your subs, it's also in here as well. Go in here to substitute settings. Perfect. And the last big piece in the sub management is the notifications trigger. This is how Yoast decides when to text or email subs about an available job. You got two modes. A default mode applies the same rule to all leave types. For example, sub gets notified as soon as the request is fully approved and a sub is needed. That's simple and consistent. Custom um, lets you set a different rules per leave type, which is where things get really powerful. For example, sick leave, you might want the notification to go out immediately the moment a request is submitted, because that sub is needed right now. But personal vacation, where the request is in a way advanced, and you want to wait till it's fully approved before notifying anybody. You can build those rules out per leave type here. One last thing, if your district uses ESS for teacher subs, Yoast can integrate with ESS and communicate in real time. That is something to discuss with your Yoast rep separately, if you're interested. For everybody else, managing subs in-house to Yoast, we just cover the whole picture. And that is the lead module. We went over the dashboard, settings, organization, lead packages, reports, sub management. I know it's a lot. I know also I talk fast, but the good news is most of it is once you configure it, and you like how it is, it's done. You really don't much time have to go back and keep making changes. Big thing to remember, a few things I'll touch on is to always check exclude outside ranges on the ERP report when running payroll. Balance adjusters or deltas, not targets. So if 50 to 38 is not is when if you want to change it from 50 to 38, you just put a -12. You just don't type in 38. And then post date request, force a prearranged sub and custom message on your leave types or your friends for cutting down what does this mean from your staff. Right. And then from there, I'll give you guys, a few minutes. If you have any questions, anything that I maybe went over too fast, apologize for that. Anything I went over too quickly, want me to kind of retouch on, please let me know. But I'll give you all a few minutes and we'll talk about it. So one of the questions was, can leave days be added as earned, or must they all be shown available at the beginning of the school year? Yes, they can be added as earned. If automatic, the platform can accrue any accrual annually, beginning of the school year, or monthly, first of each month, or can be manually added by the districts as needed. I did see some of you guys comment of it echoing. I'm sorry, I'm in a different setting than usual, and I think there's a little bit of an echo, so I do apologize for the echo. All right. Thanks for everybody for joining today. I hope you have a great issue of week. And if you need anything, please always reach out. Thank you.